Hello, everybody. So let's talk about the law of magnetism. Okay, so first of all, let me start with a quote by Zig Ziglar. He said, "Life is an echo. What you send out comes back. What you sow, you reap. What you give, you get. What you see in others, you see in yourself." Okay? So John Maxwell talks about the law of magnetism, and really in essence what that means is who you are is who you attract. Okay? You can look at that in several different ways. One of them is, you can look at the people that are finding you in your tribe, let's say, right? And you can say, what does that say about me, right? Although that's a double-edged sword. So, for example, several years ago, I found the people that were being attracted to me were people with a lot of deep hurt, a lot of early trauma, a lot of great need. And I realized it wasn't necessarily because that's who I was, but because I had walked through those things, they were able to see something in me and they needed that. Okay? So the law of magnetism, who you are is who you attract. I want to talk about this a little bit because this is an awareness piece that a lot of people in general, leaders specifically, they never quite get to. Okay? So let's say you're a leader and you see your people lacking in some way, right? So go with me here. You might be triggered, but that's okay. So if you see your people lacking, the next question is already where am I lacking? Okay? For example, if you think one of your staff members isn't listening, right? Where am I not listening? And instead of saying, no, Michelle, this is on them, this is, just hang with me here, okay? Because, I can tell you from personal experience that when I'm in a conversation or having an interaction and I have this thought come to my head, this person really should listen more, right? I immediately turn it around and I say, whoa, Michelle, how can I listen more, right? Because first of all, I have no control over that person. I cannot change that other person. I only have control over me, right? And that's a full-time job. And so I need to realize too that maybe that person doesn't need to listen more. Maybe I need to listen more to that person, or I need to listen more to me. Right? Maybe that interaction is signaling this isn't your person. Listen to yourself, Michelle. Go find somebody who will listen to you. Okay? Sometimes people don't get stuff, right? They just are not aware. And so you can look at your employee or your staff member or team member and say, oh my gosh, they just don't get it. Then you can turn that on you and say, wait a minute, what don't I get? Right? Because you don't know everything either. And then, maybe you have somebody who procrastinates on projects or is always late to, a certain meeting, right? As a leader, it's really important to do some self-evaluation and say, well, wait a minute, is there a place that I procrastinate, right? First of all, sometimes you might be modeling something for somebody. So, for example, I was working with a leader not too long ago and really, really got a little upset because she had staff members who were coming to the staff meeting late. Now, I had been working with this leader for quite some time. I had been observing her and her interactions with staff. One of the things that I noticed was that every time she made a commitment to have a meeting with one of her staff members, maybe I'm coming in to do some coaching or to do a classroom observation, she was late every time. Now, I observed that there was usually a good reason for her to be late, right? There was usually some emergency or something she was attending to, but she was late. And so when we were talking about this idea of staff being late, she's like, I just don't understand why they do this. And so first of all, I had to bring up that issue, but then I also had to say, you're subtly teaching them that it's okay to be late by being late for these other meetings, okay? So, the one thing that I can say is anytime you notice a problem, now this doesn't only have to work, in the workplace, but it can also be in your home, especially with your kids, okay? When you notice that they say something and you're like, ugh, that's me, right? When you notice that they're saying or doing things that you don't want, there's a problem. The first thing, always, first of all, how do I help this thing happen, right? For example, there was a time when one of my kids just spilled stuff all the time. If we were going to sit down at the kitchen table, she was going to spill stuff, okay? And I realized that I am helping this happen by, not teaching her where to put her cup, not teaching her, how to navigate that space, right? And then at some point I realized, well, she must have a part on one of her genes in her DNA that says spill stuff. That's just who she is, right? And so then it became a mission to teach her very young that when she spills, what's the plan? How do I take care of that? Okay? And once she kind of got into that mode of like, hey, I'm taking care of this, right? I remember she was 3 and she had spilled something and I wasn't in the room, and she put her hand, I came around the corner and peeked around, and she said, it's okay, I have a plan. I said, you go girl, do it, right? And that empowerment for her was this, the thing that she needed to break out of that cycle, okay? So I had to backtrack and say, as her mother, how am I helping her to recreate this problem, right? And sometimes as leaders and influencers, we hinder our people from actually doing the very thing that we say we want them to do. So sometimes it's just notice the problem and say, wait a minute, how am I helping and how am I hindering, right? The next thing I always do is I say, knowing what I know about this situation, how can I grow, right? Sometimes it's something that I need to do or maybe stop doing or do a little bit differently. Sometimes it's not about me at all, it's about the other person. But because I've identified it as a problem, I need to look at it and say, whoa, why does this problem bother me? It's not my problem. Why does it bother me? And then, the last thing I really do is just ask, how can I help the other person, right? Maybe I've done all those questions and it comes down to this person is having a moment, right? That's what we call it in our house. They're having a moment. They're having a hard time. How can I support them? Okay? So, if you are interested in really changing your mindset, and that's what we've been talking about on this video, this podcast today, is really changing your mindset, understanding that when you're dealing with other people, that interaction is a little bit more about you than you think, right? So if you're interested in changing your mindset, I would highly encourage you to jump into the 7-day, the Rule of 7-day mindset challenge that we're offering. It's going to be a really great program. Today is the last day to sign up. We're going to start doing the videos tomorrow, so I'm going to stop marketing because I need to focus on the people in the group. So how that group is set up is you're going to get one video lesson every day. These are 7 core principles that Ralph Waldo Emerson wrote about that have been instrumental for me in helping me to be successful in making a huge pivot in my business during the COVID-19 crisis. And I would love to share them with you. So if you want to fine-tune your mindset, I would highly suggest that you jump into that. All of the information is going to be included in the description and or the comments. So check it out. And today is the last day, so make it happen, okay? Awesome. Hey, thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate you showing up and spending time. Please let me know if there's anything I could ever do for you. If you're having issues with some mindset stuff and you just want to talk about that, reach out, let me know, and we'll chat, okay? So with that, I release you into the wild. Go forth and prosper. Have an amazing day. We'll catch you next time. All right, bye-bye.